Hey everybody, in this video we're starting our new unit. It's going to be unit 7. We're going to be focusing on solving quadratics. Okay, quadratic equations, I should say. But before we jump into solving quadratic equations, we need to take the time and make sure we know how to simplify square roots. So our learning target is I can simplify square roots. Okay, so what is a square root? Okay, well, if you remember, a square root is the square root of a number is a value that can be multiplied by itself to give the original number. Okay, so multiplied by itself to give, I gotta scroll up a little bit, the original number. Okay, so that is a square root. So meaning, what's the square root of 4? Well, I'm looking for two numbers that are the same when multiplied together give me 4. So the square root of 4 would be 2. Okay, what does that make 4? Well, that makes 4 a perfect square. Because when I square root it, I get an integer. So when I square root, I get an integer. Okay, so that's what a perfect square is. So we need to make sure we know our perfect squares. Okay, so let's talk about other numbers that are perfect squares. Oops. Okay, so I'm hoping you guys can think of others, but here's some examples of perfect squares. Perfect squares. Well, 1's perfect square, because if I square it, if I take the square root of it, I just get 1, okay? 4 is another one, because it's just 2 squared. 9's another one, because I just get 3 squared, right? 16's another perfect square. Notice how I'm just going down the number line. I'm really trying to scroll on here, and it's not letting me. I apologize. 25 is a perfect square. And then we have 36. That's just 6 squared. Then we have 49. That's 7 squared. We have 64. That's 8 squared. And we have 81. That is 9 squared. And then we have 100. That is 10 squared. Okay? So I'm hoping we can think of more. Okay? What is, let's push this over here. What's after 100? Well, we have 121 because that's 11 squared. Then after 121, we have 144. That's 12 squared. And then after 144, we have 169 squared. That's 13 squared. And then after 169, we have 196. That is 14 squared. And then comes 225. That is 15 squared. And then after that, we have 256. And that is 16 squared. Okay? So these are, I'm going to try to show all these at once. Let's see if I can do that. Okay, so these are the ones that I expect you guys to know off the top of your head. It would be nice if you could get up to 400, okay? Because that's just 20 squared, right? After 16, 17 times 17 is 289, okay? It would be nice if you guys could fill in the rest, but these are the absolute ones that you need to know without a calculator, okay? So basically 1 through 16 squared you need to know, because we need to be able to find these perfect squares off the top of our head, okay? So these perfect squares, but we're talking about square roots, right? We're talking about taking the square root of things. So I'm gonna clear this page. Actually, I'm not. I'm actually gonna leave our list up here so we can refer back to it, okay? So we wanna take square roots. That's the objective today, okay? But remember, we're not using calculators. So I wanna first start off with square root of 6. And I'm asking you, what is the square root of 6, okay? Well, if you put it in the calculator, you get a decimal, but that's not an exact answer because at some point you have to round off. So we're gonna use factors of 6 to help us simplify. So the first thing we wanna do is not right with the highlighter. There we go. Is we want to find factors of 6 that are perfect squares. And that's why I left our list up here so we can look at these perfect squares and see if any of our factors, okay? So, well, we can also just create a list of perfect squares. A list of factors. So what are factors of 6? Well, we have 1 and 6, okay? Well, those aren't on the list, so I'm gonna erase those. And we have 2 and 3. Well, none of those are on the list, right? Okay, so, oops. I know that I cannot factor this at all. I cannot take the square root of this, and this would be my answer, okay? Because 6 does not have any perfect squares as factors. If I list them out here, 1, 2, 3, 6, none of these appear in the right column of our list, okay? They're not perfect squares. Okay, let's give you another one. Let's do, I'm trying to erase. Let's do 18. So let's do the square root of 18. So square root of 18, okay? So again, what are factors of 18? Well, I have 1 and 18, I have 2 and 9, and I have 3 and 6, okay? Are any of those factors perfect squares? Well, yeah, 9 is, right? So 9 and 2 go together. So I'm going to rewrite this as square root of 9 times square root of 2, okay? Well, can I take the square root of 9? Absolutely. The square root of 9 is 3, okay? Can I take the square root of 2? No, and that's totally fine. So your answer is 3 square root of 2. So the square root of 18 equals 3 square root of 2, okay? Okay, let's do another one. Let's do square root of 24. So I want to list out all of the factors first, okay? So what are factors of 24? Well, we have 1 and 24. We have 2 and 12. Notice how I'm just going up the number line. 3 and 8, 4 and 6. Okay, so I look at these factors. Are any of them listed on perfect squares? Well, 4 is, right? And 4 goes with 6. So I'm going to rewrite this as square root of 4 times square root of 6. Okay, so I listed out my factors. I found factors of 24 that are perfect squares. At least one has to be. They both don't have to be, but one has to be, okay? So 4 is perfect square. So I know I can take the square root of 4, okay? And 6 goes with it. Now, are there any factors of, okay, so, sorry, pause. So let's do this. Square root of 4 is 2, and then I have square root of 6. Now, you want to make sure that whatever is left over in the radical, okay, that there aren't any perfect squares inside of there. Are there perfect squares inside of 6? 2 and 3, 1 and 6. Nope, we're good. So that's our answer right there. Okay, so let's do another one. Let's do square root of 75. So square root of 75. Remember, I want to list out my factors. So I have 1 and 75, okay? 2 doesn't go into 75. Does 3 go into 75? Yeah, 25 times, right? So 3 and 25. 4 doesn't go into 75, but 5 goes into 75. How many times? 15. So 5 and 15. 6 doesn't, 7 doesn't, 8 doesn't, 9 doesn't, 10 doesn't, 11, 12, nope, 13, nope, 14, nope. Oh, 15. So we've finished our list, okay? So are any of these perfect squares? 25 is, and 25 goes with 3, right? Those are the factors. So I'm going to rewrite this as square root of 25 times the square root of 3. Okay? So bam, I can take the square root of 25. It is 5. 3, it's prime, so I definitely can't take the square root of that. So my answer is 5 square root of 3. Okay, so for today's questions, I want you guys to simplify square roots, where it's going to be a 2-day lesson. Tomorrow, we're also going to simplify square roots, but they're going to be a little bit more advanced. And so just let me know how you guys do on the survey. Remember to answer honestly. It's not going to count against you if you get all of them wrong, but I need to know so that way I can reach out to you individually. Okay, I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.